Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to trace the really fascinating and pretty complex story of Iran's missile program. It's a journey that goes all the way from post-war necessity to a powerful, self-sufficient domestic industry.
So here's the big question we're tackling today. How in the world did Iran build one of the largest and most diverse missile arsenals in the entire Middle East, especially when you consider they did most of this while under heavy international sanctions? To figure that out, well, we have to go right back to the beginning.
You see, the whole story, the very first chapter, is built on a foundation of foreign tech. And it all starts with one of the most infamous missiles ever made, the Scud.
So, back in the 80s and 90s, Iran couldn't just go out and buy weapons on the open market. So they turned to North Korea. And here's the key part. They didn't just buy missiles. They got the technology, took the missiles apart piece by piece, and figured out how to build them. That whole process, reverse engineering, became the absolute bedrock of their entire program.
And what's so cool about this, what you're looking at right now, is you can literally see the evolution happening. It's step by step. The Shahab one, that was pretty much a straight-up Iranian copy of a North Korean Scud B. Okay, good start. Then comes the Shahab 2, and they pushed the range out to 500 kilometers. But the huge leap was the Shahab 3. With a range of up to 2,000 kilometers, this wasn't just a small tweak. This meant, for the very first time, Iran had a missile that could reach major regional adversaries, like Israel and U.S. bases across the Gulf. This shows it wasn't just mindless copying. It was a very deliberate process of learning and improving with a clear strategic goal.
And that brings us to the next really crucial phase. See, after they basically mastered the Scud technology, Iran started to pivot. The goal wasn't just to imitate anymore. Now it was time to innovate. They took all those lessons they learned from the Shahab series and began creating their own unique designs. You started to see missiles like the Ghadar, which was an evolution of that Shahab 3, and the more accurate Zulfikar. These weren't just clones anymore. These were truly Iranian missiles, built for their own strategic needs.
But the real game changer, the moment everything shifted, was the Sajjil. This wasn't an upgrade or an evolution. No, this was a revolutionary leap forward. For the first time, Iran had produced a powerful, medium-range ballistic missile that was 100% their own design, and it used a critical new piece of technology.
And this is exactly why the Sajjil was such a big deal. It used solid fuel. Okay, so older designs like the Scuds, they use liquid fuel. It's nasty, corrosive stuff, takes forever to load, and it makes the missile a sitting duck before launch. But solid fuel missiles, they're like a giant firecracker. They come pre-fueled, they're stable, and you can move them, hide them, and fire them in just a few minutes. From a strategic point of view, that is a massive, massive advantage.
So here's the bottom line. Iran had now developed, all on its own, a solid fuel missile that could hit targets 2,000 kilometers away. This gave them a much more survivable and responsive weapon, and it really cemented their arrival as a truly independent and innovative missile power.
But wait, the story doesn't stop with ballistic missiles. At the same time all this was happening, Iran was also developing a completely different, but just as important capability.
Right, to get this, we've got to quickly talk about the difference between the two. A ballistic missile, like the Shahab or the Sajjil we just talked about, launches way up high in a big arc. It goes to the edge of space and then comes crashing down on its target, kind of like a giant artillery shell. A cruise missile, totally different beast. It's basically a pilotless jet airplane. It flies super low to the ground, hugging the terrain to stay under the radar. It is a much, much harder target to spot and shoot down.
And guess what? We see a very familiar pattern emerging here. Just like the ballistic program started with Scuds, their cruise missile program got its kickstart by getting their hands on foreign tech. In this case, old Soviet K-55 cruise missiles. And again, they didn't just use them. They took them apart, studied them, and made them their own.
And this led to a whole family of homegrown cruise missiles, each one designed for a specific job. You've got the long-range Sumar, which came from that original Soviet design, but then they branched out with things like the Hoveze for land attacks and the Abu Mahdi for threatening ships in the Persian Gulf. They even developed one that can be launched from a plane, the Ya Ali. This shows they weren't just building a single missile. They were building an entire flexible system for land, sea, and air.
Okay, so let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture. After all of that, what does this all really tell us about Iran's arsenal today?
This one sentence right here from our source material, it just says it all. The main theme, the absolute DNA of Iran's entire program is this two-step dance. First, acquire foreign tech. Then, master it, adapt it, and build it yourself. It's that journey from imitator to innovator, plain and simple.
And the end result is this comprehensive layered arsenal. You've got your short-range ballistic missiles, or SRBMs, and your medium-range ones, the MRBMs. Then you have the sophisticated cruise missiles that pose a totally different kind of threat. And on top of all that, you have huge numbers of shorter-range rockets for tactical use. When you put it all together, it creates a really diverse and self-sufficient military power.
So, to wrap it all up, the story of Iran's missile program is one of relentless, systematic development. It's a journey that literally started with them copying decades-old Soviet designs and has ended with them producing their own advanced, solid-fuel ballistic missiles and low-flying cruise missiles right at home.
And that really leaves us with one final, broader question to think about. Iran's story is a pretty compelling blueprint, isn't it? It really makes you wonder, what does the future of weapons development look like for other nations out there that are trying to go it alone and build their own technological independence? That's a question with some pretty big implications for everyone.